I spent my birthday alone in a hospital bed after an accident. Scrolling through Instagram, I stumbled on my sister's secret account. There they were, my parents, sister, and husband laughing on a cruise ship. I called my husband and asked, "Where are you right now?" "On a business trip," he said. I smiled and whispered, "Enjoy it." The winter twilight came early in Boston as snow began to dance on the cobblestone streets of Beacon Hill's upscale neighborhood. Warm light glowed from the Harper family mansion. Emily Harper returned home from work, took off her shoes at the entrance, hung up her coat, and heaved a deep sigh. There had been no progress on her promotion to partner at the architecture firm, and she was physically and mentally exhausted. "I'm home," she called out, and Daniel's voice responded from the living room, "Welcome home, honey." "How was your day?" Emily entered the living room and found her husband sitting on the sofa. Daniel set his tablet aside and smiled at Emily. "I almost missed the last train again." "I'm sorry," Emily said. "It's okay. I understand since I'm busy with work too." Daniel nodded understandingly. "But don't you think you should consider slowing down a bit? Our time together is important too." Emily chose her words carefully before answering. "The Larson project is at a critical stage. It'll be wrapped up in a few months." Married for 7 years, Emily and Daniel had no children. They had both prioritized their careers, but lately Daniel had been mentioning family time more frequently. Emily also wanted to have a family, but now was a crucial turning point in her career. The next morning, Emily woke up early and was preparing breakfast. Looking at the calendar, she noticed her birthday was marked for the following week. When Daniel came downstairs, she asked, "Do you have any plans for next Friday?" Daniel showed a troubled expression. "Oh, I have a business trip to New York that day." "Do you know some people earn over $10,000 a month just by posting Reddit stories on YouTube? No face, no voice, just a laptop. I do it too. Link below if you're curious. It's a meeting with an important client that I can't cancel." "I'm sorry." "That was your birthday, wasn't it?" Emily shrugged, hiding her disappointment. "It's okay." "I understand." When she checked her phone, there was a message from her sister. "How about dinner with our parents tonight?" Emily replied with slight tension. "Sounds good. The usual place at 7? Charlotte had once been a successful model. She still maintained her perfect appearance and showcased her beauty on social media. She always captured their parents' attention. In the evening, Emily arrived at the restaurant and found her parents and Charlotte already seated at a table. "Emily, you're late," her mother, Margaret, said, looking at her watch. "I'm sorry." "There was an unexpected problem at the construction site," Emily explained as she took her seat. "You're always about work," her father, Thomas, said with mild reproach. Charlotte arrived right on time. Charlotte smiled with satisfaction. She sat next to their parents, showing off a new bracelet. "Mom and Dad gave this to me last week." "Isn't it lovely?" "It's very nice," Emily replied kindly. A worry crossed her mind about whether her parents would remember her birthday present. During dinner, the conversation revolved around Charlotte's recent activities and their parents' friends. When Emily began to talk about her new project, Thomas waved his hand to interrupt her. "Enough about architecture. Charlotte is going to receive an award for her charity work." "Listen to that." Emily nodded silently and listened to her sister's story. Though accustomed to being excluded from family conversations, she couldn't help feeling a pang in her heart. "By the way, Emily," Margaret suddenly asked, "is there any progress with Daniel? I want to see my grandchildren." Emily took a deep breath before answering. "We're both focusing on our careers right now, but in the future." "You're already 35, Margaret said worriedly. "You can't wait forever," Charlotte interjected. "Don't worry, Mom. Emily always puts work first." Emily remained silent. Despite her family's criticism and cold attitude, she continued to treat them sincerely. Every Christmas, she prepared heartfelt gifts, and she organized gatherings for family anniversaries. That was her way. When she returned home, Daniel was still up, working. Emily briefly mentioned the dinner with her family and how her parents favored Charlotte as usual. "Don't mind it," Daniel said, embracing her shoulders. "You're a wonderful architect, and I'm proud of you." Emily was comforted by her husband's words. Despite her family's coldness, at least her husband supported her, she thought. Emily kissed Daniel and headed to bed to prepare for an early start tomorrow. Morning light reflected off Boston's skyscrapers, and the construction site was bustling with activity. Emily Harper, wearing a helmet, was in earnest discussion with the construction supervisor. The Larson project had the potential to be a turning point in her career. If successful, she would certainly be promoted to partner at the firm. "I want to adjust the placement of these pillars a bit to create a more open atrium," Emily explained, pointing at the blueprints. "Understood, Miss S. Harper. I'll give instructions for the changes right away." The construction supervisor nodded. Emily smiled with satisfaction and surveyed the site. This complex was the crystallization of her talent. It embodied her philosophy of creating beautiful and functional spaces while being environmentally conscious. Her phone rang, and looking at the screen, she saw it was from the office. "Hello, this is Emily. Emily, it's Roger. The client is requesting design changes. We need your response by the end of today." Her boss's voice was urgent. "I understand. I'll return right away." Emily hung up and heaved a deep sigh. She called out to the construction supervisor. "I need to return to the office, but before that, I'd like to check the upper floor once more." She began climbing the scaffolding. The 5th floor of the building was still just a framework with temporary wooden flooring. Emily walked carefully, checking the sense of space. Suddenly, there was a strange sound from beneath her feet. The wooden floor creaked and cracked. "Miss S. Harper, be careful!" The construction supervisor's warning came, but it was too late. Emily felt the floor collapsing beneath her. She tried to grab onto something, but her hands caught only air as she fell. For a brief moment, the faces of her family flashed through her mind. When she regained consciousness, Emily was staring at a white ceiling. A dull pain dominated her body, especially her right leg, which ached intensely. From around her came mechanical beeping sounds and the hurried footsteps of people. "You're awake now," came a gentle voice. Emily moved her eyes and saw a nurse standing beside her bed. She wasn't wearing a nurse's cap but a modern nurse's uniform. Her name tag read Sophie Evans. "Where am I?" Emily's voice was hoarse. "Massachusetts General Hospital," Sophie explained. "You had an accident at the construction site. You've broken your leg, but there's no danger to your life. You also suffered only a mild concussion to your head. You were really fortunate." Emily tried to understand the situation slowly. "How long was I unconscious?" "About 2 hours," Sophie answered while checking Emily's vital signs. "We've already contacted your family, so they should be here soon." Family? That word brought Emily back to reality. She searched for her smartphone. "Where's my phone?" Sophie pointed to a small locker. "It's over there, but first you should rest. The doctor will be here soon." After Sophie left the room, Emily reached from the bed and took her smartphone from the locker. Looking at the screen, she noticed the date. Today was her 30th birthday. An ironic smile appeared on her lips. It looked like it would be a memorable birthday indeed. She first called Daniel. After several rings, he finally answered. "Honey, sorry, I was in a meeting." "Did something happen?" Emily explained in a calm voice. "There was an accident at the construction site, and I'm in the hospital now." "What?" Daniel's voice was filled with surprise. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just broke my leg, but I'll probably have to stay in the hospital for a while." "Oh, I see." Daniel hesitated. "Actually, I have that business trip to New York starting tomorrow. Should I cancel it?" Emily hesitated for a moment. "No, go ahead. It's an important meeting, right?" "I'll be fine, really." There was relief mixed in Daniel's voice. "You'll be okay by yourself?" "Yes, don't worry." After ending the call, Emily sent messages to her parents in Charlotte. Her parents immediately replied. That's terrible, but we have a bridge club tournament this weekend. We'll come see you after that. Charlotte's response was, take care. I'm busy with charity events this week, so it'll be next week. Emily put down her phone and stared at the ceiling. On her birthday, everyone in her family said they were busy. She tried to understand everyone has their own life. She often prioritized work, too. Still, a sense of loneliness spread deep inside her. That night, after being examined by the doctor, Emily was told she would need to stay in the hospital for at least a week. The fracture was complex and would require rehabilitation. When she returned to her room, Sophie came in with a dinner tray. "Happy birthday," Sophie said cheerfully. On the tray was a small cupcake with a single candle. "How did you know?" Emily was surprised. "It was written on your admission paperwork," Sophie smiled. "Spending your birthday in the hospital isn't fun, but I thought this might make it a little special." Emily was touched, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you, Sophie. You're welcome." Sophie lit the candle. "Now make a wish." Emily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What should she wish for? Health? Success? Love? She blew out the candle and gave Sophie a grateful smile. "Will your family be coming?" Sophie asked. "They're all busy," Emily shrugged. "I understand." Sophie gently held her hand. "I'm your assigned nurse, so call me anytime if you need anything." That night, Emily lay in bed, gazing at the starry sky visible through the window. Phone calls and messages from friends brightened her mood a little. However, there was no contact from her family. Several days passed, and Emily was beginning to get used to the monotonous life in the hospital room. Daniel called occasionally but said, "The meetings in New York are running longer than expected," and never actually visited the hospital. Her parents and Charlotte were the same. Only Sophie was her sole comfort. "How are you today? Has the pain eased?" Sophie asked cheerfully during her morning rounds. "A bit," Emily smiled. "Thank you, Sophie. I really appreciate your help." "That's my job," Sophie replied kindly. "Besides, you're a wonderful patient. You never complain." Emily laughed. "Complaining won't change anything." Sophie opened the curtains, letting the morning light into the room. "The weather's nice today. You can enjoy the view from the window." Emily sat on the bed and looked outside. The Boston cityscape spread out with people going about their busy lives. She thought about her architecture firm and the site, feeling concerned. However, she had already been informed by the office that the project was progressing without problems, despite her absence. "Are you bored?" Sophie asked. "Should I bring you some books?" "I'm fine," Emily picked up her smartphone. "With this, I won't be bored. I can read the news or check social media." Sophie nodded. "I'll come back later then." Emily opened her social media app and scrolled through her feed. Posts from friends and industry news flowed by. Then she casually opened Charlotte's profile. Her sister's latest post said, "Busy day at the charity event," with a photo taken in a luxurious hotel banquet room. Emily smiled, at least her sister wasn't lying. She scrolled further and was looking at the list of accounts Charlotte was following. There, her eye caught an unfamiliar account name. It was called Cat's Life. Casually, Emily tapped on that account. Looking at the account's profile picture, Emily gasped. It was a small thumbnail, but the smile was somehow familiar. She tapped to open the account. The profile description read, "My real life and adventures, the private me I don't show to family and friends." "No way," Emily whispered. The account was private, but since Charlotte was following it, she pressed the request button. Surprisingly, a few minutes later, she received an approval notification. It was clear that Charlotte wasn't checking Emily's social media account closely. As she began to view the posts, Emily's hand started to tremble. It was undoubtedly Charlotte's secret account. Unlike her usually perfectly curated posts, these were more raw and candid. Emily's eyes caught the most recent post. It was dated 3 days ago, right after her hospitalization. The photo showed Charlotte, their parents, and Daniel smiling and toasting on the deck of a luxury cruise ship. Her husband, instead of being at important meetings in New York, was enjoying a cruise with her family. Tears fell from Emily's eyes. With trembling fingers, she scrolled through other posts. There were posts showing preparations from a week ago and excitement before departure. Finally, the secret plan without Emily is happening. She's always work, and doesn't understand our fun. But now we can enjoy without her, was posted a few days before her birthday. Emily felt an icy sensation enveloping her entire body. Her family and husband had planned a trip excluding her for her birthday, and even while she was hospitalized after an accident, they carried out that plan without changing it. The door opened and Sophie came in. "Miss S. Harper, it's time for your Medicat," she cut off mid-sentence. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Emily managed to squeeze out words. "My family is." While I'm in the hospital, Sophie approached the bed and looked at the smartphone screen. "Oh no," she whispered. Emily couldn't take her eyes off the screen. Charlotte's post continued. "Daniel is so good at lying to Emily. I laugh every time he says New York meeting." The post was accompanied by a photo of Daniel relaxing poolside with a cocktail. His expression was more open and happy than Emily had ever seen. "I've been deceived for years," Emily's voice was hollow. Sophie sat next to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Take a deep breath. This is such a shocking discovery." Emily looked at older posts. There were many posts showing family gatherings held during her absence. While she was busy with work, her family was having fun excluding her, and Daniel was always present at those gatherings. "They don't think of me as family," Emily said painfully. She picked up her phone and decided to call Daniel. After several rings, he answered. "Honey, what is it? Is there a problem?" From the background, music and voices typical of a cruise ship could be heard. Emily tried to maintain her composure. "Daniel, where are you right now?" There was a moment of silence. "Oh, I'm in New York, just between meetings with clients." "I see." Emily chose her words. "Is the meeting going well?" "Of course, it's going smoothly." "I'm a bit tired, but it's an important business deal." Daniel's voice was slightly tense. "I'll be back in a few days." "Don't worry." Emily smiled while looking out the window. "Enjoy yourself." "What?" "Enjoy yourself," she repeated in a whisper. "Really enjoy yourself." "Emily, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" "No, I'm seeing things very clearly now." She hung up. Sophie was watching Emily intently. "What are you going to do?" Emily put down her smartphone and took a deep breath. "I don't know yet, but I don't intend to be deceived anymore." "You have the right to choose," Sophie said quietly. "The right to choose your own happiness." Emily nodded. Something was beginning to change in her heart. Beyond the shock and sadness, anger and determination were sprouting. For years, she had accepted her family's cold attitude and tried to understand. She thought it was because she wasn't enough, because she should try harder. But now she knew the truth. It wasn't her problem. "Sophie, could you recommend a lawyer?" Emily suddenly asked. "A lawyer?" "Yes. I want to consult about divorce." Sophie was surprised for a moment but soon nodded understandingly. "Actually, my sister specializes in family law. Would you like her contact information?" "Please," Emily said with a determined expression. "It seems like it's time to start a new life." That night, Emily sat by the window, staring at the darkening Boston streets. Her heart was filled with pain and anger, but at the same time, she felt a strange sense of liberation. Years of questions, anxieties, and self-doubt suddenly became understandable. She wasn't alone. The problem wasn't within her, but within the people who should have loved her. Emily looked at the cruise ship posts once more. There, she noticed that Charlotte had posted another photo where she appeared alone with Daniel. Their expressions suggested an intimacy beyond mere in-laws. Everything connected Daniel's late returns home, increasing business trips, his critical attitude toward her career. He had been betraying her all along, and with her sister no less. Emily took a screenshot of the screen, saving the evidence. Then she began writing an email to contact Sophie's sister, the lawyer. On the day of her discharge, Emily found Lily Chen in the hospital lobby. Lily, a friend since college, had rushed to her side as soon as she received Emily's call. Thank you so much, Lily. Emily was embraced by her friend as she used crutches. What are you saying? Of course, Lily said while holding her belongings. My home is always open to you. Sophie came to say her final goodbye. Congratulations on your discharge. Don't overdo it, okay? Emily took the nurse's hand. Without you, I think I would still be in darkness. Thank you so much. Sophie smiled kindly. Were you able to contact my sister? Yes, I'm meeting her tomorrow, Emily nodded. Lily's apartment was in the Cambridge district of Boston. It was a small but comfortable space, and Emily would be using the guest room as a temporary refuge. She had decided not to return to her own home, at least not yet. I didn't need much luggage, Emily indicated one suitcase and a laptop bag. I contacted my workplace directly from the hospital and had them send what I needed, Lily said while making tea in the kitchen. Have you heard from Daniel? He calls and messages every day saying he returned from New York. Emily smiled bitterly. Now he's asking, why aren't you coming home when I'm here? What did you tell him? I told him I'm staying at a friend's house for rehabilitation. Emily looked at her smartphone. My parents and Charlotte have also returned from the cruise. Finally, I got a message from my mother asking, how are you feeling? Lily, unable to hide her anger, asked, what are you going to do? Expose everything right away? Emily took a sip of tea and slowly shook her head. No, it's not time yet. First, I want to meet with the lawyer and get everything prepared. The next day, Emily met with Clara Evans, Sophie's sister. Clara was in her mid-40s, a lawyer with sharp eyes and a thoughtful expression. I understand your situation, Clara said after Emily had explained everything. There's sufficient evidence, the social media posts, the lies on the phone, and, she hesitated a bit, the suspicions about the relationship with your sister. How should we proceed? Emily asked calmly. First, let's create an inventory of assets. We'll clarify shared assets and my personal assets. Next, we'll limit Daniel's access to accounts in my name. Clara looked at her intently. Are you emotionally prepared? Emily took a deep breath. Yes, my 7-year marriage is over. I just want to end it in the best way possible. From that day, Emily began building a new life. Even while using crutches, she returned to the architecture firm. Her colleagues had advanced the project during her absence. Hearing the news of the accident, her boss appreciated her dedication and talent, proposing her promotion to partner earlier than planned. Mrs. Harper, welcome back, her boss, Roger Smith, visited her office and said, I was really worried about the accident. Regarding the partnership, I will formally propose it at next month's board meeting. Thank you, Roger, Emily expressed her gratitude. 3 weeks after noticing her absence, Daniel was showing increasing impatience. When are you coming home? He asked on the phone. Isn't it enough? I need a little more time, Emily answered calmly. By the way, how was the meeting in New York? Oh, it went well. We're likely to close a big deal, Daniel said confidently. I see. That's good, Emily said while looking out the window. It's really a talent to be able to work even on a cruise ship. There was silence on the other end of the phone. What? What are you saying? Daniel's voice was trembling. Did you think I wouldn't know? Emily's voice was as cold as ice. Charlotte's Instagram was quite revealing. I especially like the hashtag #FamilyTimmyandLee. Emily, listen, I can explain. Explain 7 years of lies? Your relationship with my sister? Emily tried to control her emotions. It's over, Daniel. A week later, with Clara's help, Emily had compiled all the evidence and legal documents. She had rented a new apartment and was preparing to move out of Lily's house. It was time to take the final step. Emily sent an email to Daniel, her parents, and Charlotte. The attachments included photos from the cruise ship, screenshots of Charlotte's social media posts, and records of conversations documenting Daniel's lies. The body of the email was brief. I will no longer be deceived. Divorce papers have already been sent to Daniel. All communication should be through my lawyer, Emily. That night, Daniel appeared at her temporary residence. Lily didn't open the door and said through the intercom, Go away or I'll call the police. The next morning, Emily's cell phone received angry messages from her parents. How could you embarrass the family bringing problems outside the home? Her mother had written. There was not a word from Charlotte. On the day Emily moved to her new apartment, she stood on Lily's balcony one last time, overlooking the city of Boston. Any regrets? Lily asked, standing next to her. No, Emily smiled. Rather, I think I should have done it sooner. But that, too, is part of my life. A few days later, she received a call from Daniel's lawyer. He intended to contest the property division. Mr. Harper is demanding 70% of the shared assets, the lawyer said. Clara responded calmly. I'm sorry, but that's unacceptable. We are prepared to detail Mr. Harper's infidelity in court, especially his relationship with our client's sister. The threat was effective. Daniel softened his stance and agreed to the divorce on terms favorable to Emily. One weekend, Emily made a final visit to her parents' house. Margaret opened the door, her face hard and cold. May I come in? Emily asked. In the living room, Thomas was reading a newspaper. He put it down when he saw his daughter. Have you come to apologize for destroying the family? He said in a harsh tone. Emily stood before them, looking straight into their eyes. No, I came to tell you the truth. A real family doesn't betray each other. I've always sought your love, but now I understand I have the right to live my own life. Margaret pursed her lips. You were always selfish. No, Mother, Emily said quietly. I just learned my worth. She headed for the door. Looking back, she said finally, Goodbye. I hope someday you'll understand what a true family relationship means. 2 years later in Boston, Emily was gazing at the sparkle of the Charles River from the window of her architecture firm, Harper Design Group. Half a year after the divorce, she had become independent and established her own company. Now, with a staff of 10, she was building a reputation for sustainable architectural design. The preparations for the 4:00 meeting are ready. Her assistant, Jessica, handed her some documents. Thank you, Emily smiled. And have all the invitations for my birthday party been sent out? Yes, sent to everyone. Sophie and Michael have already replied that they'll attend. Emily nodded with satisfaction. Her life after divorce had become richer than she had imagined. She had become close friends with the nurse Sophie, and through that connection, she met Sophie's brother Michael. Michael was a pediatrician, and his kindness and sincerity gradually healed the wounds in her heart. They had been dating for a year and now spent most weekends together. Leaving the office, she drove to the Hope House Orphanage in East Boston. She had taken on this rebuilding project for the facility at no charge. Miss Harper, we've been waiting, Director Harris of the orphanage greeted her. The children have been looking forward to meeting you. Emily waved to the smiling children as she surveyed the new playground under construction. Her belief that family is not just about blood ties was embodied in this project. One day, a letter arrived at her office. It was from Charlotte. Emily, I'm not asking for forgiveness. We're paying the price for our actions. Daniel is under investigation for investment fraud and has lost his job. My modeling career is also over. Our parents lost their savings in Daniel's investments and are now living with me. Ironically, we're now forced to consider the true meaning of family. Emily placed the letter on her desk and stared out the window. She felt neither anger nor joy. She just reaffirmed that her choices had been right. That weekend, Emily was having breakfast with Michael at a small cafe in Beacon Hill. What are you thinking about? Michael asked. I was thinking about family. Emily took his hand. I think I found a true family now, not tied by blood, but relationships where we respect each other, support each other, and don't betray each other. Michael gently squeezed her hand back. I think so too. Family is the act of choosing love and respect. On Emily's birthday, her new family gathered at her apartment. Sophie, Michael, Lily, and colleagues from the architecture firm. After blowing out the candles on her cake, she raised her glass. I am now surrounded by a true family, people like you who don't betray each other, support each other, and respect each other. Blood may be the beginning of family, but it certainly doesn't define it. Michael stood beside her and took out a small jewelry box. As the room fell silent, he knelt down. Emily, will you create a new family with me? Tears welled in her eyes, and a heartfelt smile spread across her face. Yes, gladly. Her birthday was no longer a symbol of loneliness and betrayal. It had become a day of new beginnings.